Hello, my name is Marina Louw, and my subject for today is Violin GPS. Using directions that are sequential and hierarchical and that have been linked to certain coordinates in order to facilitate the teaching of violin technique to beginners. So GPS, what a wonderful thing. I can still remember my first experience of a GPS in Botswana many years ago. We were going to overnight at Kubu Island and it was getting dark and there were no formal roads or signposts, just a maze of informal little dirt tracks. And we would have never have found the place if we had not had the coordinates and the GPS. But when we learn a new skill, like playing the violin, we are equally lost in an unfamiliar landscape because we are blind on a sensory level to a physical movement until we have actually performed that movement. So verbal instructions alone are not enough to convey all the sensory information that we need in order to replicate that movement properly. Words first have to be linked to actual kinesthetic experience in order to have value. Words are also so open to misinterpretation. We all know what the teacher said and what the child thought the teacher said are not necessarily the same thing. So verbal instructions can be misunderstood because of earlier connotations that we have formed in previous experiences, as well as because of our faulty sensory awareness that we have as a result of our postural tension and imbalances that we live with in this modern age. So even watching someone demonstrate a movement only gives us a limited amount of information about that movement. And again, we can easily misinterpret what we see, and it's by no means guaranteed that we will be able to replicate the movement on our own. So it is true that certain pupils naturally have a higher physical intelligence and an ability to imitate, but the usual scenario is that when the teacher is in front of the pupil in the classroom, things seem very clear with the teacher's guidance, but when the pupil is on their own, it's sometimes so difficult for them to remember exactly what and how to do a particular movement. It's a bit like being lost in that maze of informal little dirt tracks in Botswana. So if only we had a violin GPS to help us establish good technical habits right from the beginning. But when I was doing my research for my master's degree, I noticed many parallels between the Alexander technique and Kato Havash's violin method called the new approach to violin playing. So there seemed to be a similar teaching structure underlying both methods that facilitated and guided the initial learning of a movement as well as the re-education of a physical movement. So this became the focus of my master's thesis, which I titled Coordinating Mind and Movement. And it's this underlying teaching structure that I want to share with you today, and that could perhaps help us to equip our students with that violin GPS of sorts. So what I noticed is that the Alexander method and Kato Havash's method both use directions that are sequential and hierarchical. These directions have become linked to certain coordinates through a detailed shared exploration of the movement with the teacher. So it's very important to understand that the directions that are given are not used to describe the unknown, but they have become linked to the actual experience of the pupil in relation with the teacher. So eventually the directions can be reduced to a shortened phrase that still conveys a depth of experiential meaning that is not easily described in words. And then these shortened directions are used to recall or to trigger the specific experiences that they have come to represent. So although I will illustrate how this works in two basic exercises from Kato Havash's new approach, I believe that if we understand this underlying teaching structure, it could be applied in general to the teaching of technique on most instruments. So just to recap, we are going to use directions that are sequential. In other words, they always follow a certain order. And they are hierarchical. In other words, some thoughts are definitely more important than others. And these directions are linked to coordinates that have been identified by the teacher and the pupil through their mutual, thorough exploration of the movement together. So coordinates would include the following elements. It would be the spatial orientation that exists within each position. So it's the spatial orientation within a position, but also within a movement in space. So it would be, the words that you would use would be up or down or forwards, or it could be a visual coordinate, such as the shape of a particular body part. For instance, when I teach my pupils to place the middle two fingers on their fingerboard, we use the Table Mountain shape. So we have a flat top and we are not over curving on this end, but there's a gradual slope. But other coordinates would be the sensory or kinesthetic feedback that the pupil experiences in performing that movement. So it's what the correct movement feels like. It's the muscle tone, the levels of tension and relaxation. And when things are done in the right way, it's the feeling of lightness and the ease of movement versus heavy, encumbered movement. So it's the experience of what does it feel like to have balance and whole body coordination. But tone production and musical feedback can also be a coordinate. So for instance, the sound that results from the correct technical movements, like when we bow, and I would tease my pupils and I would say, oh, your violin is complaining today if they press too hard and there's a screechy sound or something like that. So when we stroke the violin and the violin is happy, it makes a beautiful singing sound. And so we link the result to the cause, the actual movement. But there are other unique features of the new approach in that the sequential directions that are given are always linked to a rhythmic pulse in the new approach. So the rhythmic pulse also becomes a coordinate. And Katja Habash explained to me that she does this in order to help the pupils, to help focus the pupils' attention in the actual moment of movement, thereby eliminating a whole lot of unnecessary mental interference. And pitch also becomes a coordinate in some of the more advanced exercises. So the use of the inner ear. Habash stressed that every movement is used for creating the music. So the music is the true focal direction of the movement, but I don't have time to go into that today. So when we speak of hierarchy of thought, we have to think first and foremost of the freedom of our head, our neck and our shoulders, and eliminating any interference with our anti-gravity reflexes so that we can achieve a balanced, integrated posture. So Alexander was an actor and he found that he lost his voice when he was trying to project, and what he discovered was that he retracted his neck. So this is our typical anxiety or fear responses when we stiffen backwards, and now we've interfered with our anti-gravity reflexes. But when he tried to correct this, he found that due to what he called faulty sensory awareness, he ended up doing the exact opposite of what he thought he was doing. He just fell back into his old habitual pattern. So we all know that sometimes a habit that we have is wrong, but it feels so right. So that's just what we fall back into all the time. But Alexander eventually learned through observation to give himself the directions when he was doing this, to say head forward and up, head forward and up. So now I'm overdoing the movement. It's actually very, very small and subtle, but that had brought about the improved use and restored his voice. So the basis of Alexander technique is that through guided movement, the Alexander teacher stops the habitual and familiar misuse of the head and neck and leads the pupil into an experience of improved use, for instance, in walking, getting up out of a chair. And then a carefully worked out set of directions is linked to this kinesthetic experience of lightness and postural balance that the pupil experiences in order to re-educate the pupil's use and also to help them to replicate the movement on their own later on. So the first thought in all movement, all exercises, has to be the freedom of the head and neck and stopping all interference with our anti-gravity reflexes. so that we can allow a balanced whole body posture to develop. So this is the whole pattern. Our anti-gravity reflexes is the whole body pattern that integrates and coordinates all the other partial patterns, like the movement of our fingers or the movement of our arms. And it's also the basis for the coordination between our mind and our movement. So in everything that we do and every exercise that we teach, this has to be the first and the most important aspect that we give attention to. So for example, in the first lessons I have with my pupils, I would experiment with them to achieve a balanced posture where we talk about a tall, elongated spine. We can think about the top of the head growing to the ceiling while the feet sink into the floor. And after that, only after we've established that, those spatial coordinates, like growing up, sinking down, when they hold the instrument, I would then say, melt your shoulders away from your ears. So if they're about to start playing and I see there's a bit of tension, I would first say, tall spine, melt your feet into the ground, and then I would say, melt your shoulder away from your ear. But eventually, I only have to say tall spine and the whole pattern kicks in. And before I get to melt your shoulder away from your ear, they've already done it. So you see the spatial coordinate, but also the word melt gives a lot of sensory information. It uses the imagination, the feeling of relaxation, melting. It's not really something that you do actively, it's something that you allow relaxation to happen. So this we would do before, I would comment on this first before they start to play any piece or any exercise. So Kata Habash created a series of powerful exercises that are designed to explore the relationship between our body and the instrument in order to eliminate the very common tendencies of tension points. And in so doing, to facilitate the integration between the body and the instrument in a balanced whole body technique. So these exercises are very powerful in order to teach a beginner a movement they don't know, but it's also very, very useful when trying to re-educate a bad habit. In all students, even in advanced players. So there are too many aspects to cover in such a short video, but I will only use two of the exercises to show you. So the first is the violin exercise. I first want to say Kata Habash uses many exercises such as the rhythmic pulse, the winging, in order to explore tension points in the body and to create a balanced posture, but I don't have time to go into that. So I'll just only show you the violin exercise. Once we have a balanced posture, I'll demonstrate the exercise and then we'll break it down bit by bit. So the exercise will go like this. The thumb is behind, fingers on the strings. Kata Habash credits high fits with this movement. It's 1 and fit, 2 and spread, 3 and slide, 4 and swing. Sequential, combine in a certain rhythm. What do all these things mean? So the first time I did this exercise, I actually found this movement extremely difficult until Kata Habash pointed out that I was tensing up my arm and my hand. And in fact, if I just took the instrument away, it would be 1. Just a light rotation of the forearm. The word starts here and the n ends there. 1. 1. Then when I add the violin and I make sure my arm is relaxed, 1, indeed it is very easy. And I put my hand underneath my chin to remind my head not to reach for the chin rest, because the moment my chin reaches for the chin rest, I've interfered with my postural balance and the freedom of my head and neck. So I put my hand there, and it also reminds me that there's a space below my chin and between my chin and my collarbone, that actually the violin and my body are designed to fit together like two pieces of a puzzle. 1 and fit. It just slides in, fit. At this point, Kata Habash would say, don't push the violin up, because then you also interfere with this relationship. So it's just 1 and fit. Then my fingers are here And I just rest my chin on my fingers. I don't want to squash down and clamp down and press on my fingers. And we start to think about a soft, maybe a red velvet cushion. And I'm just resting my chin on that cushion. Then we go 2 and spread. As I move my hand towards the bridge, I allow my chin just to spread into the chin rest. Without pressing down, it's just the natural weight of my head. And at this point, we would do teach back, where I would ask my pupils, see if you can lift my head off the chin rest. And indeed, it's very easy. I would also do the opposite by clamping down and then say, now try and lift my chin. And of course, they can't. And it becomes a big playful joke, really. But a lot of sensory information is conveyed in that way. Then 3 and slide. When we do this movement, we think of a soft, furry animal inside our hand. Slide. And we don't want to squash it. Katahavas has another exercise where she asks the pupil to put their hand on their throat and just to feel how soft and warm that is. And then to take the feeling, that soft and warm feeling, and put it on the neck of the violin when you slide back. You're not going to strangle the violin because you wouldn't want somebody to strangle you. So you just put that same feeling into your hand. So a lot of sensory information is again linked to this movement. Then 4 and swing. That's just a small, just pushing on your upper arm, just to check if your arm can swing, that you haven't locked your shoulder or locked this hinge here. So that is the violin exercise. Let's move on to the bow. Here we have, again, I'll just do the exercise and then explain it step by step. We have 1 and link, thumb, placing the thumb. 2 and spread. I'll just do it and then I'll break it down. 1 and link, 2 and spread, 3 and curl, 4 and give. So what are these steps? 1 and link gives us a visual and a spatial coordinate. Our thumb tip touches the wood. Our thumb is bent so that the bottom of the nail rests very gently against the hair. That is linking between the wood and the hair. 1 and link. Then 2 and spread. All the fingers go over the bow, including the pinky, which helps to align the fingers in the correct way on the bow. 2 and spread. Spread also gives you the idea of maybe peanut butter, something sticky, but not something hard like steel or a vice grip. Then 3 and curl. This is again a visual clue, just the pinky steps up onto his tip. We know that this is the shape the pinky has to be. Is he straight? This is completely wrong. We want a round, flexible pinky. Then 4 and give. So if I press at the base of my thumb on that muscle, it will give me a soft, squishy feeling. And then we would do teach back, and I would ask my pupils to see if you can lift any of my fingers. And indeed, it's very, very easy. I would also do the opposite by gripping. It looks pretty much the same, but if you feel here on my base of my thumb muscle, it's rock hard. And of course, it's really almost virtually impossible to take my fingers off. And in that way, we would play through the exercise, and a lot of information, sensory information is taught and linked to these simple steps, sequential steps. So our spatial coordinates were the shape of our thumb, the shape of our pinky. Sensory coordinates were the soft, squishy thumb, the clingy fingers, but able to lift them off. Then we can link all the exercises together. Initially, we spend a lot of time on each exercise. And I think often the problem is that people tend to move too fast in the beginner lessons before the pupil has been able to really create a proper relationship with their instrument. But we follow a familiar path of every lesson, linking all the exercises, each time going a little further in order to set up the basics, which the pupil can then easily do at home as well. There's so much more I want to share, but my time's up, and thank you for watching.